they have to be manipulated in a certain manner for the target market?
There are agendas set in newsrooms for a lot of different reasons, some political. I mean, if you go and work for the Telegraph, you know pretty much that you're going to be promoting the Tory line. So there can be that pressure put on you. Fortunately, I'm in a position now where if I write an article for a newspaper, I can say, you know, if you're going to change it, I need to know beforehand, or you have to show me this beforehand. But as a young journalist setting out, I mean, I remember one time being shown a copy of the front page with the headline and a picture, and I hadn't even gone out to do the interview, but it was like, this is the front page that we want. If you want your name on this story, that's what you've got to deliver. And so you can be under a lot of pressure, but very happily I'm now in a position where I can insist that that a story is written a certain way. I've given this story to the Sunday Express, which has got me on the edge, biting my nails, wondering how they will handle it. And it's the launch of a campaign that I want to see over the next few weeks, exposing Britain's own Guantanamo Bay. And this is a prison in leafy Worcestershire, where 6 foreign men, Muslims, are being held without trial, without charge. Very much like Guantanamo, except, you know, without the orange. They're not allowed to see the evidence that is against them. Their lawyers are not allowed to look at the evidence that is against them. How on earth can you defend yourself in those circumstances? All of them will almost certainly be tortured, and at least a couple executed if they return to the countries of their origin. The memorandums of understanding are not worth the paper they're written on, and that was illustrated just a couple of weeks ago. If you go onto the Caged Prisoner website, there's a Moroccan man called Farid Hilali who was extradited to Spain, and he fought against extradition all along the way, and eventually the House of Lords said, all right, he can go to Spain as long as he is not then deported to Morocco, where he will face torture. He can go to Spain if he's charged with A, but certainly not B. And he was sent to Spain a couple of weeks ago, and they've charged him with a specific charge that the House of Lords said you cannot charge him with this charge. It's just 2 fingers to the British judicial system. And so I've given the Express, on the grounds that, you know, it's no use preaching to the converted, I've given this story to the Sunday Express, and it will be interesting to see how they deal with it and how they treat it this weekend.
You said you wanted to make Muslims more politically active in the UK. Have you ever thought of running for office, or have you been approached by any political parties?
I was a member of the Labour Party when I was 17 years old. You're almost born with a Labour card in your hand, or you were when I was born in County Durham. And when the march to try and stop the war happened, that's when I tore up, well, it was shortly after that when the war happened, but I tore up my card because I realised that I no longer had a voice in the Labour Party. along with millions of other people. You know, we just were ignored. I joined the Respect Party, and we've got one MP, and you know, when George speaks, people do listen. We're very much in the minority, but we are making a change, and we are making a difference. And I would say that because there were 4 areas where we stood in the last general election: Birmingham, Leicester, and in East London. And all of those Labour MPs voted against the war of us, and voted against the current terror legislation. And they are acutely aware that we're interested in their areas. And it's amazing how MPs are suddenly prepared to change their views or change their ideals when they think they're going to lose their seat, or somebody's going to make them have to fight for their seat. So we should become politically active. Somebody worked it out that although we're in the minority in this country, we could, if we voted in a smart way, in block ways, we could alter 100 seats in Parliament, which is, that isn't 100 seats for Respect, but we could alter the balance in some areas. Because, you know, if you get, in simplistic terms, if you get 45 people voting for Labour and 45 people voting for the Tories, and one Muslim comes along to add their vote, that Muslim suddenly becomes the most important voter. So even though we're often in the minority, if we voted as a bloc, then we could influence who gets into Parliament.
Does George Galloway actually care about the Muslim community, or was it just a strategy to win the votes?
No, he genuinely does care. In fact, I'd heard that he'd converted a while ago, and I said to him, you know, have you converted to Islam? And he's there with his beard and his beads, alhamdulillah, inshallah. And he said, that's between me and my God. And somebody said, well, why wouldn't he just say, yes, I've converted? I said, his mother is a staunch Roman Catholic and very influential in his life. I don't know. I know that he has been passionate about the Palestinian cause all his life. He has been a passionate fighter against oppression and tyranny. And he's had some amazing attacks on him. I mean, I remember he once said that you can judge a person by their friends, but you can also judge somebody by their enemies. And when you look at George's enemies, you know, Tony Blair, George Bush, half the US Senate, Conrad Black, Richard Pearl, you know, there's some heavyweights there. And I think, and Rupert Murdoch, you know, I think the enemies of George speak volumes for George himself.
Is there any way we could influence the US elections?
Well, who would you vote for? Barack Obama. I wish I had the quote with me. Barack Obama is in the grip of the Israeli lobby.
Yeah.
Yes. And if you go onto Google, he said, I like him, I like what he says, but if you have a look at his policies, it's not just him, it's all of them.
Yeah, they say there's no person that isn't in the grip of the Israeli lobby.
I think the exception is Ron Paul, who's got virtually no hope of becoming elected. But